Once upon a time, in a deep forest, there lived a clever fox named Felix. Felix was known throughout the forest for his quick thinking and sharp wits. He always managed to find food, avoid danger, and outsmart anyone who tried to trick him. One day, however, Felix met a challenge unlike any other. In the same forest, there lived a big, hungry wolf named Bruno. Bruno was not very clever, but he was strong and always looking for a big meal. One day, Bruno spotted Felix walking near the river and thought to himself, that fox would make a tasty lunch. Bruno crept quietly behind Felix, ready to pounce. But Felix, with his sharp ears, heard Bruno's footsteps. Without turning around, Felix smiled to himself and thought, I'll need to be clever to get out of this one. Felix quickly came up with a plan. He stopped by the riverbank and pretended to stare into the water. As Bruno approached, Felix called out in an excited voice, "Oh my, look at all the fish in the river. I've never seen so many big, delicious fish." Bruno, curious and very hungry, came closer and asked, "What are you looking at, Felix?" Felix turned to Bruno and said, "I was just about to catch some fish for my dinner, but I can't do it alone. Would you like to help me? We can share the fish." Bruno's eyes widened at the thought of a fish feast. "Of course," he said. "What do I need to do?" Felix pointed to the river and said, "All you have to do is stand in the shallow water and wait. When the fish come close, just grab them with your paws." "It's easy." Bruno, not the brightest of animals, eagerly jumped into the cold water and stood still, waiting for the fish to come. But the fish were too quick, and Bruno's paws were too slow. As he stood there shivering in the river, Felix quietly slipped away, chuckling to himself. Bruno waited and waited, but no fish came close enough to catch. After a long time, he realized he had been tricked. Angry and embarrassed, Bruno climbed out of the river, soaking wet and still hungry. Meanwhile, Felix had already found a safe spot far away and was enjoying a nice meal of berries he had gathered from the forest. It's always better to use your brain than your strength, Felix thought with a smile. From that day on, Bruno learned to be more cautious, and the other animals of the forest continued to admire Felix for his clever ways. And as for Felix, he lived happily, always one step ahead of anyone who tried to outsmart him.